Hey everybody, I'm Zach and I like movies, and I'm here to give a review for the new movie Warfare. This is the latest film from writer-director Alex Garland, and he this time around he gets a co-writing and co-directing credit with Ray Mendoza, who actually served as he's a former Navy SEAL and actually served as military advisor for Garland's last movie, the 2024 A24 blockbuster, the much discoursed and very interesting but simultaneously frustrating Civil War. And a movie that I think I'm still largely in the camp for. It's definitely got just enough like good about it that I would honestly say is a recommendable movie. Is pretty good in its own right. It's all handsomely filmed. The sound really pops. I think the question it poses within its sort of like odd mix of like a world of like military world building and also the like questions about like, you know, journalism and stuff. I think that's all that is just interesting enough to like sort of like circumnavigate enough of its like very sort of frustrating like mixed elements that don't really super work in the way that it, you know, tries to talk about, you know, capturing violence, discussing violence, and reacting to violence like that. And I think it's really interesting that just the way that Civil War was made and the reaction to Civil War. I think it's really interesting that Garland and Mendoza decided to give this kind of movie a second go around, because and I think it's all better for it, because what we have here in Warfare is a much more stripped back, just very muscular, singular, focused movie that is honestly one of the most immersive war pictures I think I've ever seen in definitely in the last couple of years. This movie's kind of fantastic. It will really, if you're not prepared for this might just really like rattle your bones. So what Warfare is, it's just another Tuesday for this platoon of Navy SEALs. They are doing a recon mission in this house, and then it's set in Iraq in like 2006, and then things blow up in their face, and it's just what I'm pretty sure is like 90 real-time minutes of this platoon just trying to get out. And it feels like a horror. It really does kind of feel more like a horror movie in that way, in the sense of like it's just we're stuck in this one location, kind of like a bottle thriller. And I've kind of seen it compared to like a Assault on Precinct 13, at least in like that sort of element of it. But so I would sort of like do at least one movie I can compare this to is Black Hawk Down, at least in the sense of like how it's cast, because this is a movie that does not have a central character. Like, yeah, Raymond, it makes the point early on that this is a movie based on the memories of Ray Mendoza and the other SEALs that were there with him in this, and it's very clearly very well researched and very to an almost absurd degree, I would say. Like, as someone who hasn't served, I think it feels pretty damn accurate. And man, I gotta say, I was really just surprised by how effective all of it was. And it's just, it really is. And what's so interesting is that, like, yeah, it does follow the that sort of like way of like there's no central character. It's just an ensemble of a platoon, and like there are some familiar faces that you can spot there, there's a DeFaro, Woon-A-Tai, Will Poulter is like the commanding officer. Charles Melton is there, he's great. Kit Connor too, but yeah, it's mostly and what's also very effective about it, what makes it so much more immersive, is that there is very little, and I would even say basically no characterization, like at all. There's no literally nothing. There's not even there's no flashback to like, oh, the life I got waiting at home in America. There's no talk of like what are you gonna do on your off time or something like that. And like the one guy who tries to get some small talk going, he's just like stonewalled, just like no new guy, and so all that we get now is just is us, the audience, needing to decipher like how they get through this, how do they get out of this situation moment by moment, beat by beat, and we have to get a lot, and it's sort of a price that there's a lot of faith given to the audience, because most, like 95% of this movie's dialogue is just military jargon, and you can pick up a lot of things of like how they the call outs they do, the way they when they move and take cover and fire back and stuff. There's a and all we have left to decipher is just to watch it, which is just sort of like they just be these people, these characters I put in quotes, they just become bodies moving through a space. They're just like running and screaming or bleeding on the floor, and they just become they're just like tools for the military machine, which I think is kind of one of the more damning inferences of the movie, I think. And there's a lot you can like. I understand the sort of like the description, criticisms I've seen of Alex Garland in regards to Civil War, and this sort of like cowardly the accusations of coward centrist positioning, and like I do understand the reaction to like sort of see a movie about the Iraq War in like the year of our Lord 2025, to think of that Frankie Boyle quote, Americans will invade your country, take, kill your families, take over your land, and then 20 years later come back to make a movie about how doing that made their soldiers feel sad. And it's not an I do see where that's coming from, but here I think I think there's a lot you can like read into about like a Civil War. There are political positions that the movie takes, but it's not quite so spelled out. There's a lot of things that you can pick up in like the actions that both the soldiers take, in the way that they interact with civilians, the way they interact with their translators, the way they interact with just each other, and how aggressive they are, and how the violence they have to partake in is sort of like shapes that. And there, I guess there is something of I guess you could call it like a sort of Starship Troopers-y, in the sense of like, in the grand scope of like what happens. This is a unit of soldiers that is entering alien territory as an invading force, and they upend the order of that space. They invite chaos into it. They reap the consequences of that violence, and in their wake, they just leave behind just destruction that the residents there have to pick up. And it's pretty pointed, but like the way that Garland does it, and this I think is really key to how Garland is like framing this military conflict, especially, is that he's sort of like removing the context that brought you here, and you, the audience, have to kind of put the context back. He's decontextualizing the situation, and we have to sort of like fill in the backspace, like the same way that like we see these shapes, these men who are just like in this action and the immersion, and the way that we are so immersed in it that we have to sort of like do, like, again, kind of do the work of like filling in on like who these guys are, in like a sort of like we have to kind of do the job of humanizing, which I guess is both a which I think you could say is a criticism, but I sort of see as a compliment. Especially given the absolute level of detail that this movie takes to immerse you in this. Like, holy shit. Like, I think, like, putting it down early. This is probably going to win the Oscar for like all the awards for sound design, because oh my god, the sound in this movie is concussive. It is pointed. It is so shattering, like a one of the great, like there's a scene here that's sort of like a things got bad. Oh, this is like the point where like things got way worse, and it is a scene where like a big explosion happens, and then like we're experiencing, you know, the shell shock, where like, you know, the sound is muffled, there's ringing, there's just like, you know, you're feeling a haze, your dome, your bell got rung, your dome is rattled, and you're just like still trying to get your bearings. And like, my god, the sound is just so haunting, and just it's so loud. Like, if you see this movie, you need to see it loud, because like every gunshot is just striking. Like there's a moment where like bullets are like literally whistling by, and it's just, I've never heard a gunshot sound like that in a movie before. And and there's like, again, just the sound just gets so loud, and the screaming, oh my god, the screaming. Like there was a cut in that section where we go from like one guy just like still kind of muffled in the ears, muffled in the head, and then it just sharply cuts to the room, and you just, the screaming was just so loud. Like I think it would actually like trigger some PTSD if you're not ready for that. Like, oh man, and it's so impressive, and man, I just kept thinking so many moments where I was just so amazed at how this movie sounded, and how it would cut, and how it would cut from like more more objective, like kind of like a master shot, like of the room, where like you get a more clear-eyed view of like what the space is like, and how it sounds with all the violence and the gunshots and the explosions and all that. But then like when it would cut to more close-up shots of the soldiers, we would just like hear how they're still feeling. Like one would be like still kind of fucked up, and another one would be like he would have so much, he would like be hearing everything so much more. Like he would have the comms in his ears, and it would just, and all the noise and the jargon and all the scream would just get louder and louder and louder and louder. And it really is just, I have one of the most, Jesus, it's one of the most effective uses of sound and loud sound that I've ever felt in a theater, especially the last couple of years. This will fuck you up if you're not careful. And I think, what's so important to remember is that when it's all said and done, it gives you another reminder that this was all recreation. This was, and all this sort of like ugly contradictions of just, the act of war, being in war, the violence of warfare, and then sort of like the odd, uncomfortable feelings that you might get about like wanting to like, make a movie about that, and how you might feel about that. It's a movie that, it's an ending that feels very reminiscent of Taste of Cherry, if you've seen that movie. And it's, yeah, I thought it was, I'm honestly just impressed by this. And I understand, and it's jaw-dropping, it's gut-churning. I really do think this movie will rally your bones. And yeah, definitely see it. I definitely recommend this. I think you should see this. Really should probably see it on IMAX. That seems probably the best. See it in Dolby if you can. Like this, you really feel the bass in this. Like if you can see this with a good sound system, with a good bass. Holy shit, this is oh my god. And I don't want to I can't give away like all the things they do in this, but like, I'm still rattled by it, and I probably will be for a while. This was really impressive, and I think yeah, kind of might go down as like a kind of a modern military movie classic. I'm feeling a pretty decent 8. It's this is really good. I thought it was a much needed improvement from Civil War, and I think that'll be it for now. My name's Zach. I like movies. Did you see Warfare? What did you think of it? And as you can see behind me, I have a lot more movies to watch. And I hope you watch movies too, because movies are life, and life is worth living. And I will see you all next time. You take care of yourself.